Almost everyone has at least one relationship with one financial institution. Practically all businesses, regardless of industry, require financial services at some point in time, be it credit cards, bank and time deposits, loans, insurance, or investments. But financials go beyond these. It evolves through technology, and rapid innovation has given birth to a long-term trend called fintech or financial technology. Fintech is a powerful trend. Electronic payments are steadily growing with a lot of room to grow exponentially. On top of this, we also have the rise of cryptocurrency and other blockchain technologies. With the Atram Global Financials Feeder Fund, investors can participate in growth of companies around the world that are involved with providing financial services. The fund gives you access and diversification to global financial names that we normally do not have locally. The fund also invests in fintech, which a normal financials fund would not. Invest in the biggest global companies in the financial industry. Participate in the global recovery. Diversify your investment portfolio by investing in this fund. Invest in the Atram Global Financials Feeder Fund. For more information, visit www.atram.com.ph.
The world around us is ever-changing. We are facing development challenges on a global scale. Today, 41 million out of 57 million deaths are attributable to non-communicable diseases. In the Philippines, 5 out of 10 families were deprived of basic education. The Philippines also ranked 3rd in the top 10 countries with the most natural disasters. Women participation in the labor force is less than half at 48%, while male participation is at 77%. The United Nations identified and adopted 17 Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs to address the challenges faced by economies, societies, and the environment. We at Atram support the UN and the SDGs by launching the Atram Philippine Sustainable Development and Growth Fund. The fund is designed to invest in Philippine companies that score high in terms of the integration of UN SDGs into their operations and strategy. Through this fund, we hope to encourage PSC-listed companies to integrate UN SDGs into their businesses. We must work together to make a world a better place. Atram Philippine Sustainable Development and Growth Fund. Invest in a sustainable future together. Invest to thrive. Invest together. For more information, visit www.atram.com.ph.
Megatrends are shaping and influencing the global economy. Urbanization, technological innovation, resource scarcity, and demographic and social change. The long-term shifts in these trends create multiple investment opportunities. They gave rise to a new type of investing called thematic investing. Enter the Atram Global Equity Opportunity Feeder Fund. The fund invests into the themes that would benefit the most today, making it the first global multi-thematic fund in the Philippine market. Unlike traditional investing, thematic investing is not constrained to sectors or locations, focusing instead on themes and megatrends. It distills the megatrends to find relevant topics that work in this current market environment. It finds the next big thing and invests in it at a very early stage. With this multi-theme fund, investors will have exposure to various companies that will drive future market growth. What's more, you can invest in all the new developments in this world in Philippine peso or US dollar, making it accessible to everyone. Invest in the fund that invests in the stories of tomorrow, today. Invest in the Atram Global Equity Opportunity Feeder Fund. For more information, visit www.atram.com.ph.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Andrew, and I will be your host for today's webinar. Ayan. Okay, let me first greet everyone a happy Chinese New Year, or we'd like to say Kyong Hee Huat Sai, in a sense that wishing you prosperity and good fortune to everyone. Okay. First, a couple of things is that thank you for joining us today. And as a topic here, what we're going to talk about is really talking about a guide to prosperity in the year of the water tiger. The year of the tiger is just around the corner, right? It's actually the first day is Feb 1, and the New Year's Eve is January 31. So that's actually next week. All right. And the tiger is actually one of the most beloved Chinese zodiac signs. So it's because it signifies fortune and confidence. For this afternoon, for this session, we'd like to basically, we aim to tackle basically the fortunes of each and every animal sign for the year 2020. So I hope you get everyone here this afternoon knows your Chinese zodiac sign more or less as a guide. I hope you guys know that. We also want to talk about the favorable sectors that where we may want to invest in for the Chinese or for 2020. That's something for us to really listen to from our speaker today. So let's watch. Let's wait for that. And of course, we want to, of course, get tips as well in terms of how we can have a harmonious, safe, and smooth sailing 2022. And so also, before anything else, we'd like to, of course, remind everyone that these are the things that we'll be discussing this afternoon or today is that these are basically just guides for once how we can augment our one's luck. And what's important at the end of the day is really putting the work in, right? The hard work in all that we do, all right? Today's webinar is very special for Atram in a sense that because we made it available to everyone here attending. If you were to compare it with other institutions for similar events, right? You have to have an exclusive invite to other institutions, but not for Atram. For us, we took the extra step to provide contents that provide information like these so that they will guide you in terms of making your key investment decisions or even helping you out in your investment journey. So that's very important for us. And that's one of our key commitments to our investors, to our customers, right? Okay, a couple of things. So to stay updated of our upcoming events and announcements, please scan the QR code that you see right now in your screens. Maybe we spend a couple of seconds, take your phone, scan it. Then it will lead you to all of our social media pages, to our Facebook and other social media pages, so that where we make our announcements, other future events, so that you get updated. Again, keeping updated, being informed is very important. All right. And just a reminder as well, in terms of today's session, today's video will be posted in our YouTube channel. So an Atram YouTube channel. It's called Atram Studios. There you can actually go to our YouTube channel and in a sense look at our past market outlooks, our past videos, so that you can learn more information in terms of how the basic investing, as well as key market to help you out in terms of making your key investment decisions. Right. We have product videos as well there to really make you understand what other products that are available for you when it comes to investing. All right. Okay. So also we'd like to also encourage everyone to send in your questions. Send your questions in the Q&A tab throughout the session because we'll be giving out Atram merchandises for some lucky winners or for some people who will be sending in their questions, and of course, we'll try to answer as much questions as we can this afternoon. All right. So let me first introduce now our speaker. Our speaker is Patrick Ray Lim Fernandez. He's a principal at the Yin and Yang Shop of Harmony. Patrick has learned Feng Shui at a very, very young age and has infused these principles to his various projects for his clients. Patrick has trained himself in terms of in Asia, North America, and is an advocate in terms of classical schools of Feng Shui and Chinese metaphysics. Patrick also holds a degree in management engineering and economics in Ateneo. And of course, he has an MBA with the University of California with advanced analytic courses from MIT and Stanford. He is currently even pursuing his master's in data science in Harvard University. All right, let's welcome our friend, Patrick. Patrick?
Hi, Andrew. Thanks for the great introduction and thanks for having me this afternoon.
How are you? How are things on your side?
I'm good. It's been a great start for the year so far. As we all know, it's as you mentioned, the year of the water tiger. This happens once every 12 years. So if your year is a tiger, this is your year. This will come again 2034. So enjoy the year if you're the tiger. And as you mentioned, we'll be going through each sign. So we'll leave no sign unturned. We'll go to the rat, the dragon, the monkey. Everyone will be covered today.
I hope for everyone here in the audience or watching us today, I hope you know your signs already. If not, Patrick will help us out on that later on. But maybe just to set the tone first, Patrick, is that Feng Shui has always been, of course, really equated to Chinese culture, right? Culture. But maybe for my first question before you can go on and going through each and every sign is that is Feng Shui still something that non-Chinese folks can really still practice and relate to, as an overall thing?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew. I think the word feng shui or the term has gotten almost a life of its own, especially here in the Philippines. And I think a lot of it is because people don't really know or don't have background in it. Translated from Chinese, it literally means wind and water. And if we think about it, this is energies that happen across the whole world. There's wind and water everywhere, and in feng shui, it's called qi energy. And this transcends borders, genders, race, culture. So simply put, if you live here on Earth, feng shui will be applicable for you.
Perfect. So with that, I'll give the floor to you, Patrick, in a sense. All right. Have the floor. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, everyone. And again, thanks for the great introduction, Andrew. We'll be covering quite a bit today, so I hope you'll be able to pick up some tips and information about feng shui. So first, we'll start off with some basics. What is feng shui? What is it not? When did it start? And what are some of the different types of luck? Then we'll go over the general outlook of the year. What are the energies that are prevalent? The industries that are favorable? And then we'll also go through some from an equities perspective. Andrew mentioned I have some background in quantitative analytics as well. I blended that with feng shui, and I can share with you some analysis we've done that cover some of the trends for the year from a wealth management perspective. Then we'll show everyone how to determine one's life pillars. As Andrew mentioned, year is one element of it. There's actually 7 other energies that are also available. And we'll go through, as Andrew mentioned, how to find your own personal energy for your month, your day, your time, and hope that will be useful for everyone. Lastly, we'll talk about the property you have, like your home or your office, and how to enhance this so that this will affect and help your wealth, your relationships, your career, all aspects of your life. So as mentioned earlier, feng shui means wind and water, and it's really how do we live in harmony with nature and our environment. Very interestingly, it's actually based on science and calculation. So feng shui is not a religion. It's not fortune telling. There's no crystal balls. It all has to do with very carefully measuring the chi energy that flows here on Earth and also from astronomical bodies, charting that out, and then we're able to use that knowledge for our advantage. And this is 6,000 years worth of information. Again, 6,000. And this started many, many years ago. And it's really spread throughout the world after this, especially today. If we think about climate change, if we think about concern for the environment, it's as relevant as it was 6,000 years ago and even more relevant today. So this is really something that's very important. I want to make a distinction, though, between what we call Chinese metaphysics, or what some people call a horoscope, astrology, as it's translated sometimes in English. This really has to do with a person. Feng shui, as a term, has to do with one's property. So one's home, one's office, one's place of business. So we want to make that distinction. For the personal luck, the zodiac signs, that's the metaphysics or the astrology part. Feng shui has to do with your physical location, your real estate. And there's some key pieces of data we'll be needing. So this is your birth date, your directions, your sectors, your home of your home, and we'll go over how to find this as well in a bit. And also the year your home or office was built. So it's very data driven. It's very quantitative. And for me personally, this is what attracted me and still attracts me today to feng shui. First, let's talk about the general outlook of the year. As Andrew mentioned earlier, the tiger is one of the 12 animal signs. there's a legend that many years ago, the Jade Emperor or the Buddha had a great race, and he called all the animals in the world and said, come here to this location, and in order of appearance of your finish, I will name the years after you. First was the rat, which we had 2 years ago, and then the ox was in second place, and the tiger came in third, and this is the year of the tiger today. And interestingly, for the tiger, in the Chinese zodiac, apart from the months, the seasons and the years are also carry over through the years. So the past 3 years have been winter months. This is the year of the pig, the rat, and the ox, 2019 to 2021. And if we think about what happened these past 3 years, the world sort of went through a version of winter where there was like a hibernation from a health perspective, from an economical perspective. There was just some sort of lethargy in the world of just being very low energy. Fortunately, hope is on the horizon. So spring is coming, and the tiger is this year, the rabbit and the dragon follow. And these are all spring animals. So we're slowly emerging from winter. It won't happen right away, like snow takes some time to thaw, but it is coming. So hope is on the horizon. This year is a yang energy. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of movement. This is a more aggressive type of energy. Whenever it's an even year, it's a yang year. And if we think about things that happen throughout the world, or even in the political arena, or many world events, they usually happen on even years. And it's no coincidence that these are the yang years. And the tiger is a yang animal. So expect a lot of activity, a lot of movement, and take part as we re-emerge from this winter we've had the past 3 years and as we move into spring. I do see, however, there's a couple of health and safety stars that are still prevalent this year. And people have asked about this pandemic. And I think people are now calling it an endemic, where this will just be part of life. So what I advise people is, from a Feng Shui perspective, we do see these health and safety stars present that's still going to have an overhang for us this year. But something that's even more important is, how do we then respond to this? How do we take the right actions, right protocols, so that we keep ourselves safe, our loved ones safe? We know it's out there. The key thing is, what do we do about it? And this is the advice I want to give from this regard. The Philippines is located in a favorable sector this year, and there's a lot of energy for work and academics. And what we see here is people will be more productive, more efficient. So if you're an employer or an employee, this bodes well for you. Take advantage of this and make sure you're part of this re-emergence or re-energization. A couple more things for this year. This year also is a year to work smarter, not necessarily harder. The yang water, which is the element of the year, is the most intelligent of all the signs. So take this advantage to invest in yourself, learn new things, and you'll find yourself much better off by the end of the year. However, don't be narrow-minded. Don't think that you know everything. Try to listen to other people's point of view, get their information, so that you'll have an even better perspective once things are done. Next is try to be bold and take calculated risks. As Andrew mentioned earlier, the tiger is one of the more active, more popular signs. So take advantage here so that you're able to think about what are the things you do want to do. And if you have, for example, a decision point, list down all of the options you have, and make sure you think about what are all the things that can go wrong and can't go wrong, and do this risk assessment. At the end of the day, once you have these options, pick a choice where you're pushing the risk envelope a little further. You're being a little more risky, but still within your tolerance. So again, take calculated risks. The key thing really here is, don't be impulsive and act without thought. The tiger, sometimes they just pounce without thinking. One piece of advice is, think before you act, measure all the risks, and then be a little bolder this year. There's a saying that fortune favors the bold, and this is a good year to employ that strategy. Now let's talk about investments. A lot of people are interested in thinking about how is this year compared to other years and so on. And I have a couple of views about that. First is, if we take a look at the general equities market and took a more quantitative view, of what has the trend been for, let's say, the year of the tiger versus the year of the rabbit versus the year of the dog. And there was an interesting analysis done by The Economist, actually, that looked at the Dow Jones. So the US market dominates the global equities market. It's about 56% of the entire market. So wherever the US goes, usually the rest of the world follows. And what the analysis found was, if we take a look at the different years, there's a clear linear trend of, depending on the year, there seems to be better returns than other years. So this is the nominal versus real return, which is adjusted for inflation. And we see that these are all the different years where the returns fall. And fortunately, for 9 out of the 12 signs, they're positive, which is a good thing. What I then did was added another layer, just to take a look at how does this look from a time series perspective. So if we said the year the rat goes first, the year the ox follows, and so on. And what we see is there's this trend where clearly there's some sort of cyclicality to the world economy for the past century or so. And again, these are all averages on the nominal return. So we can then see that there are years where it may be better to invest than others just based on historical trends. And following through with the theme of earlier, where we talked about the seasons, where say the pig, rat, and ox are winter years, tiger, rabbit, and dragon are spring years. The spring years tend to, on average, given historical data, do better than some of the other ones if we take a look at this data. So again, I just wanted to share some interesting trends, blending Feng Shui with today's world of being data-driven and analytics-driven. And there is some very good points of intersection. So I wanted to share that with you today. Now the question becomes, as we saw with the tiger earlier, it was positive. Really the key for investors is, if this is the average, how do I get above average returns? That's always going to be where the key is. From a Feng Shui perspective, we see 2 elements that are favorable this year. The first element is water, and there's some industries that are tied to water. These include hygiene and cleaning. So it's a very easy use case to see, especially with the pandemic still continuing, that this is still very much in need and growing in the world today. Logistics and trading also belong to water. And we're all aware of some supply chains issues that the world had gone through. It seems that this year it's even more in need. So this is something that is seen to be more favorable this year. Supermarkets as well fall in this industry. Hospitality is seen to make a comeback, where travel restrictions, if we look at headlines, they coincide with travel being opened up even more. Beverages also belong to the water industry. Some other water industries would include analytics like AI, machine learning, things that have to do with more of that technology that are more analytical in nature. So those are all water industries. From metals perspective, that's the second industry that's also, or type of industries that are also favorable. And what belongs to metal? We have machinery and mining, and some of these heavy metal type of industries. The car industry is also seen as a metal industry, especially with the new resurgence or the surge in electric vehicles. Banking and finance is also another industry that seems to be favorable. The medical and dental industries, also hardware. So computer hardware or other types of technology hardware falls under metal. Software, though, falls under fire, which is seen to be just okay this year. It's really water and metal that are seen to be more favorable from a Feng Shui perspective. Now we're going from macro to something that will matter more to you. So let's talk about the personal luck for all 12 Chinese zodiac signs. Before we begin, some people may know, for example, their year of the dragon, year of the rat, year of the pig. There's actually a way to calculate your year if you don't know it yet, and all your other pillars or all your other energies. So if you have time today or whenever you're available, you can go to our website or go to this QR code, and we have a calculator there. It looks something like this. So what you do is you enter in your birth date, your year, your month, your day, your hour, Your hour and minute, your time when you were born is preferred, but it's not required. Once you have all of that, click on calculate. And once you do that, you'll have, if it's on your phone, you'll be scrolling down. If it's on your computer, it will be from left to right. This will be your year. And most of us know that you were, it's a year of the rooster or year of the rabbit. Pay attention, extra attention to your day. This is probably the most important animal on your chart. So here, for example, this person is the day of the tiger. And this has to do with their own personal luck. The year affects your immediate surroundings, so it affects you more indirectly versus a more direct effect if it's your day. Again, and we'll have this QR code available for the other slides so you can follow along if you want to. So I hope everyone can find out, if you don't know yet, at the very least your year. And we'll also have the specific years at the bottom of each slide. So you'll know that if you're, say, you're 1971, you know what sign you are. First, let's talk about the rat. So as mentioned earlier, these are all the years belong to the rat. From an investment perspective, say you've been a long-term investor or you're just beginning to invest, the key this year is patience. The rat, unfortunately, doesn't have many favorable stars, and it has a star that has a lot of impatience built into it. So if you have an investment that you've already studied, that for some reason you're trying to either sell or buy and it's not quite hitting your thresholds, or you want to pull the trigger, but you have to still meet a certain threshold, patience this year will be the key. Try to temper your aggression as well. A lot of us are aware of very high risk investments that are also very high reward. For the rat this year, just try to temper so that you may not be getting these 1,000% returns. Try to have a more realistic view of how your investments can look and be more patient. And that would bode well for you if you're a rat investor. On the personal side, watch out for your health. There's a star there that has to do with your health, and also a star that has to do with the health of your loved ones. So take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and this should hopefully be a good year for you, as long as you, again, temper your aggression. Next, let's talk about the ox. The key theme for the ox this year is relationships. So you may be an investor and you may be doing your own research, which is fine. This year, though, try to form relationships with people in the know. It may be a certain sector, it may be a certain asset class. If you're interested in, say, fintech or crypto or healthcare, and you may not know too much about it, or you may even be interested in finding out other investment vehicles. Try to leverage your relationships so that you know who to go to and who to ask, and that will make you better in terms of just being a smarter investor. Information is key. As Andrew mentioned earlier, you also have to put the effort in. And if you're able to leverage your relationships, so think about who in your life, if you want to invest in, say, healthcare, who in your life may have a good view of the healthcare industry. Or if you want to invest in a certain asset class, say, fixed income securities, know who in your life may be an expert there, leverage that, learn from them, and that would be good for you this year. From a personal perspective, there's a star that has to do with feeling isolated and lonely. So you may have these bouts throughout the year, and working remotely for a lot of us this may be more relevant this year than others. So just take the time to center yourself, spend time with your loved ones, with your friends, your family, so that you don't have this feeling of isolation. Next is the tiger. So this is your year. Again, the next time this will happen is 2034. So take advantage of the positive energies. And for the tiger in particular, there's an energy that has to do with, there's an academic star or a learning star. And what this means is you'll have the ability to absorb information more this year than other years. So what can you do about it? Educate yourself. There's tons of material out there, be it from establishments or be it on the web, from reputable sources. Try to educate yourself if you don't know about something, so that you're fully aware of all the risks, all the rewards, all the forecast from industry analysts, everything that has to do with your investments. It could be something you're already following, or it could be something you're going to be interested in, NFTs or certain ETFs or mutual funds. All of these things, if you don't know, this is your year to learn it. And make a goal for yourself to learn X new things for the year, so that at the end of the year, you can check off that you've known a lot more by the end of the year than you had at the beginning. From a personal perspective, you're in the spotlight because it's your year. Just try to keep a low profile. People will be watching you closely. So try to be conservative, try to be humble, and don't try to be too gaudy or too out there. And this year should be okay for you. Next, for the rabbit. The rabbit this year is all about growing your network. So when we talked about the ox earlier, a lot of it was leveraging your existing network. For the rabbit, as an investor, try to think about growing your network. For a lot of times, we're finding that if we want to learn something, it's easier just to talk to someone and reach out to, if it's an institution, if it's a friend, if it's someone who has know-how in that investment class. Grow your network. This year in particular, the rabbit has a benefactor star that has to do more with yang energy. And yang energy is tied to males. So you might find yourself this year getting better investment tips, better investment advice, or better guidance from males in your life, or even by growing your network. So keep that in mind, that you have favorable yang energy this year. That doesn't mean you cut off all the females on that part, but you'll just find yourself getting better luck, better energy from males. From a personal perspective, you may find yourself a lot of times feeling disinterested or having low energy, even if it's things that you're very interested in, like if it's your job, if it's investments, if it's your family, if it's your hobbies. You might find yourself getting very low energy and interest on those. And it's natural. There's a star that's causing that for you this year. So for that, just try to let it pass. Just try to think about why these things are important to you and remind yourself, and that will help center you again on why these things have value in your life. Next, let's talk about the dragon. For the dragons this year, the key is all about planning and thinking about possible obstacles and contingencies. So you may already have an investment plan. And again, we recommend everyone have an investment plan if they're going into planning to start investing or continue investing. Think about how much money you want to put in, what sort of strategy you want, if you're more risk averse, more risk neutral, if you want equities or debt, or fixed income. So think about your strategy first, but at the same time, think about contingencies. So if you had a plan, for example, to invest X amount of pesos or dollars or crypto into these certain funds, and something happens, especially now with this market, the first few weeks have been very, very volatile. The VIX has been very high. Think about how do you quickly pivot so that if you have an obstacle, you're able to move to a plan B or a plan C. And again, having someone to talk to will also help here and give you some guidance, but try to come up with a plan and also contingency so that you're not stuck if your plan A doesn't work out. So that's key for the dragon. On the personal side, similar to the rat, watch out for your health, but in particular, more your stress levels. So you might find yourself getting a little bit more strung or a little bit higher stress this year. So just try to lower your stress levels, keep yourself centered, and this should benefit you as the year goes through. Next, let's talk about the snake. So this is sign 6 of the 12 zodiac signs. For the snake this year, you actually have pretty good wealth luck. So congratulations. You have some stars that bode well for investments. So take advantage of that. So be a little bolder this year. We talked earlier about taking calculated risks. So this one is going to apply especially to you and one other sign I'm going to talk about earlier. For this is similar to the rabbit, where one should also grow your network. This is where your energy will be coming from. The particular energy that's going to be better for you this year is coming more from the yin side. So yin has to do with females. So if you want to grow your network, you might find yourself getting better luck, better energy, better advice from females for this particular year. So something to think about as you're expanding your investment team, your investment network. Females might be better for you this year than for other years. On the personal side, you might find yourself attracting people who are not good for you. And this happens naturally. Sometimes we have a magnet for this type of energy, and for the snake, it's present, unfortunately. So the key thing here is surround yourself with people you trust. Make sure that you're able to have a good sense and a good gut feel of the people you put in your immediate surroundings and your circle, so that you won't feel that they're going against you or they don't have your best interest at heart. So this is for the snake this year, just something to watch out for. Next, let's talk about the horse. The horse is another sign with some good career and some good wealth luck as well. So congratulations, you'll be galloping as the year goes through. The horse also has a leadership star. So interestingly, for the horse, people might actually take your lead in terms of investments. So you may already be a little bit more advanced than other people that are actually following you. So this is the year to actually share your knowledge if you can. And at the same time, when you share your knowledge, people will be willing to give information to you as well. So it'll just be a tit for tat, but try to approach people with helping them by guiding them, especially with maybe newer investors in your family or people who are interested in this field. And this should help you get better luck as a result. However, pay attention to any contracts. If you are, for example, signing brokerage agreements, or you're signing or investing in certain things that have specific legal requirements, if it's say derivatives or futures or anything like that, there's a legal spell star. So pay more attention to details, because especially as you get into some more exotic investments, NFTs, and so on, you really need to know what exactly you're signing up for. So just make sure you're comfortable with all the terms, and have a lawyer look at it if you need to, and this should bode well for you for the year. For the goat, there's going to be a little bit of push and pull luck. And what I mean here is the goat also has a good influence star. So you'll also, similar to the horse, be seen as a leader. And I think all the research you've already done in the past, you're ready to pull the trigger, you're ready to exert your influence over other people and your investment strategy. However, the goat also has a star called a small drain star. And this means that sometimes as you earn, say, dividend income or appreciation of capital gains, you might find that this might be drained slowly, either because of spending, or maybe because you didn't take out the investments at the right time and then they started going down. So just keep in mind, if you want to lock in profits, do so in a very systematic way and don't be carried by emotions. That way you'll minimize some of the effects of this small drain star. Again, investments, if you try to be as objective as you can, once you start putting emotion into it, this is where problems usually start happening. And having a partner also helps because they keep you objective. On the personal side, pay attention to your physical health. Similar to like the rat and the dragon, there's some health stars in particular, and some safety stars. So when you're traveling or just being around the house, just be careful of some injuries. Just take all the necessary precautions, and hopefully you'll have a good year. Next is the monkey. So on the 12 zodiac signs we showed earlier in the picture, each one of them actually has what they call a conflict or a clash animal. And for the tiger, it's actually the monkey. So what this means is it's maybe a little bit of an up and down year because this is your conflict or clash year. But there are some good things you can take advantage of. One thing is the monkey has what we call the travel star. And the travel star has to do with expanding your horizons, a lot of times geographically. So one advice for the monkeys is If you have a certain portfolio, and the key is always diversification to manage your risk better, try to look at maybe foreign investments or even different sectors, or even if it's locally, if it's located in different industries, try to expand your horizon a little bit more. And you'll find yourself at the very least learning about them, and at the same time maybe picking up some industries that are going to be useful if you want to further diversify. So again, a lot of the funds that are available around the world have global components. Try to explore some of these if you want to, because you do have a good travel start this year, and this bodes well from an investment perspective. On the personal side, you might feel yourself getting stuck a lot of times. So when you do feel that, just try to move forward. Just try to not make yourself into a corner, so that you won't feel that you're being limited by your options, and you feel that you're always moving forward. Next is the rooster. So the rooster is generally good. They have some good wealth stars. So investment should be more favorable for you this year than for other years. The key thing to keep in mind, though, is don't be married to an investment, and just try to keep yourself active and try to keep yourself agile. The key thing for the rooster is, if you need to shift or pivot your strategy, do so. You do have a star that unfortunately there will be sudden changes, and just make sure you're able to adapt quickly when these changes happen. At the same time, on an investment perspective, you might feel also you're going to be frustrated quite a bit. And this often happens for those who have been investing for a long time. We all go through these frustrations of, we think it's going to go X% higher and it doesn't. Again, for the rooster this year, you may have a lot of that. So just keep that in check so you don't make irrational investment decisions. The dog, this is 11 out of 12, so we're almost there. For the dog, this is a year to actually be a little bit more conservative, especially with your finances. So what I'd recommend, especially just for this year, is just try to look at your current portfolio and see how you can maybe just rebalance. If you want to go, venture outside of your portfolio, do so, very carefully. But for this year, for the dog, being a little bit more conservative seems to be the way to go. Also, be careful of any injuries and mishaps that you may have, just so that you're not, you won't be caught in any precarious situations from a health side. And lastly is for the pig. The pig is the other sign with a number of prosperity stars. So congratulations. So be bold. This is a good year for investments and to kind of test out your risk strategy and try to push the envelope a little bit. And you will find yourself rewarded if you're a pig. Watch out though for unexpected loss. So just make sure that you're able to lock in profits if you need to. You're able to and you have it very well defined. So that, say if you have a strategy to go to exit a trade or a certain investment, if it goes up or down by a certain percentage, stay true to those rules and don't break them, so that you won't have any unexpected losses. On the personal side, there's an envy star. So just try to make sure that you're not being too overly, especially as you'll be earning a lot of money this year. Try not to show off too much, and people won't be envious, and you won't get any negative energy as a result. And one final word on personal luck. We talked about all these energies. And really, for me, it's a simple formula. It's something just echoing what Andrew talked about earlier. Luck for me is about the energies that we talked about per sign, by knowing what's good for you, what's not so good, and also the effort. If you know you have good wealth luck, but you don't do anything, chances are you won't really fully take advantage of all this positive energy. So this is something we recommend for everyone, so that you're able to take advantage of all your good, positive vibrations this year. And lastly, is just spend a little bit of time on one's property. So the home or the office. Here's some just general good tips from a Feng Shui perspective of what to do. A lot of people are working from home or investing from home. So keep these things in mind. First is setting a clear boundary between your work and rest areas. Work has to do with yang energy, rest has to do with yin. So just make sure you're able to balance these two effectively so that you don't start blending them together. The other one's about decluttering. So just make sure you keep your home and office very organized. And the reason here from a feng shui perspective is if you have a lot of clutter, this doesn't allow the chi or life energy to move freely and unimpeded in your home or your office, and it gets stuck or it doesn't move as quickly as it should. The key thing is the main entrance. Try to keep your main entrance to your house or your office always clear, spacious, well lit. This will allow the good chi to come in and go throughout the house. And lastly, try to create spaces for gatherings so that you can do shared activities such as meal preparation, so that this will imbibe even more positive chi into your house. The more you're able to share stories, share experiences as you're doing something together. And once positive chi gets generated, that also tends to spread to everyone who lives in the household or the office. And then lastly, I'll just cover this quickly. This has to do with directions. I'll just cover two directions, especially from a investment perspective. If you're, say, in your house or office, stay at the center and try to find out with your compass, it could be a traditional compass or a phone, where all the different directions are. So it could be that your door is here in the west, the kitchen is here in the northeast. If it's in the office, it could be your office here or your conference room here. So just try to know where everything is in relation to the center using a compass. And then next, try to activate it with by doing these things, staying there, occupying it, having some sound, some movement, some moving water like fountains, living things like plants or flowers, having a clock, anything that moves. And also, these are a little bit more advanced, but you can also put the right element in. And we usually cover this when you do personal consultations for people. But these are some easy things you can do. And the two sectors I want to pay extra attention to is, for investments, the Northeast and the South. If you're able to put certain things in these locations that can activate these areas, they should bode well for you so that you are able to take full advantage of the wealth energies that are going to be present this 2022. Again, the Northeast and the South, try to activate those areas as much as you can. And lastly, I'd like to talk about, just to wrap up, we talked about the 5 success factors in some other forums, but I want to just talk about it a little bit here. And this is came from the Chinese, but this is applicable really for everyone here on Earth. We talked about luck and feng shui during our session today. Destiny really has to do with your own purpose. So this is more personal for everyone and only they know this. But something everyone can do are these two things. One is charity or being selfless. So the more, and again, we talked about chi and positive energy. The more selfless you are, the more you're able to give and be volunteer, give your time, donations, anything that doesn't have to do with you, but has to do more with other people. That also gives positive chi. So keep that in mind. The other one is education. And we talked about certain signs earlier that are very, that need the education. So these are the folks that, for the tiger, for the ox, about learning, these are some signs that you definitely need to watch out for. But for everyone, it's just generally good advice that you invest in yourself, invest in your learning, and you should be much better off by the end of the year than you were at the beginning of the year. And with that, we'd like to thank everyone. Again, this is Patrick Lim Fernandez from the Yin and Yang Shop of Harmony, wishing everyone a very great year ahead, very prosperous, very abundant. May all your wishes be fulfilled. And at this point, we'd like to take questions from the audience. I hope everyone picked a little something up today. We covered a lot, but I'm glad we were able to share some of these information points with you.
Thank you, Patrick. While you were presenting, I was really literally taking down notes in a sense, and I hope the audience or the participants here this afternoon was also taking down notes or even taking screenshots basically of whatever their science is and what is applicable to them, right? But maybe first, maybe you can take a rest first, Patrick, before we go to the Q&A. But again, I would like to encourage everyone to send in your questions. I see a lot of questions already as we speak, but I still encourage everyone to still send in your questions. And of course, a question that you will be sending is basically like a raffle entry to those Atra merchandises that we will be raffling out later in the event. But with that, earlier, were you able to catch the industries or elements that will do well for 2020? Were you able to catch that? I hope you did, because what we did is that we've discussed it with Patrick, and we were able to match it in terms of an investment outlet. In a sense that, because the always question next after attending these types of sessions is, where should I invest? What type of industry should I be investing? Where do you think the stars align in terms of investments, right? We've done it in a sense that we're showing it to you this right now, in a sense that earlier they were talking about the water, metal, machines, banking, right? There's corresponding funds, there's corresponding investments that we have under with Atram that you can invest today. All of these investments are all available via our online platform Seedbox. Just go to our website and go to the funds page, go to these investment pages, and then learn more about them. Then if you're really interested in investing, you can just press the button of the invest now, and leads you to basically to our seed box. And just for only 1,000 pesos, you can already start your investment in these industries, right? For example, we're talking about banking. We have a global financial feeder fund investing in the biggest global banks, global financial institutions in the world, right? So managed by BlackRock. It's a feeder fund, so you can invest in it. Earlier, we were talking about green water. We have our SDG. We have our thematic type of investing when it comes to ESG, consumer trends in terms of consumers, supermarkets, all of that. As you can see right now in your screen. So I suggest if you have that, take a screenshot of this and make it as basically your guide in terms of where you should invest. If you have extra funds, try to look into these types of investments, because assuming the stars are aligned in terms of the energy as well, these might be something that's worth looking into. But of course, caution in a sense that of course we all need to make our own research, and all these types of investment has to be within our risk return profile, and it's all in the website that you can actually check what type of risk return profile you are, and then where you can actually invest. So again, we are here with Atram. We're providing you the information, we're providing you the tools and investing that helps you out in basically your investment objectives. All right. Okay. So with that, maybe we can call in back Patrick. I see a lot of questions right now. Maybe we can go through it. Patrick, I have a very interesting question here. With businesses, of course, going through a lot, right? See, for the past few years, right, in terms of pandemic, and in a sense, there's always question is that what are the lucky charms they could wear for, in a sense that they could attract the good chi that you were mentioning, the good charm, right? What do they need to do, wear, or be aware of in terms of attracting that, at least that positive energy? Because at the end of the day, it's still hard work, right? We were all saying. Maybe you can shed a light of a couple of information on that.
Sure. And yeah, thanks for these very thoughtful questions. I'll be glad to share as much information as I can. So from a Feng Shui item perspective, the best ones are the ones that have both the right element and the right symbolism tied to it. And these are available in our shop if you're also interested. So what we recommend from a wealth perspective, something you can carry in your person, it's called a money catcher. You may find these if you go to, let's say, in Hong Kong, Singapore, China. They have these huge statues of what they're calling money catchers. You see them a lot in casinos, actually.
Yeah.
But payao is what we also call it. So we have available some art that are more portable. So it could be as a pendant, or it could be put in your wallet, and you can carry that with you everywhere. The other one is if you want something for your home, for your office. What we recommend is, say for this year, the lucky sector for wealth that we covered earlier was the Northeast and also the South. We do have items to call like this one, something we do sell. It's called a double money catcher. So rather than just one, there's two heads. So it gets money from all directions in terms of catching this wealth. The interesting thing for the Chinese is there's actually many different words for money and wealth. There's even a god of money, actually. I
Yes.
think if you go to this is something really that for the Chinese, it's prevalent. But when we put it from a feng shui perspective, what we do is two things. One is we take the symbolism, and then we also use the right elements. So in this case, for example, we use metal. Metal is good for this type of activity, and we also use certain types of stone, which are earth materials. So we have these items. They're money catchers or double money catchers. So these are some good feng shui items to have in either your person or your home or office.
Thank you for that. I mean, I personally as well have a lot of aquariums which could create that water. I know a lot of people as well putting fountains, water fountains as well. And I think there's a question here for water fountains. Is there the difference if you put it outside or inside? I think it really depends on the direction, right, Patrick?
Exactly. It's all about knowing which sectors to activate. So earlier, for example, we talked about those two key ones for wealth, the Northeast and the South. And there are some directions that you shouldn't activate, for example, because they have the not so positive ones. The key one actually for this year is two key ones. One is the center. The center has what we're calling translated disaster energy, and it just means like setbacks and you have a hard time achieving your goals. This is for the center. And then the the southwest has to do with sickness. So these two different directions, if you can avoid putting, say, a fountain. But for the northeast and the south, as you mentioned, Andrew, these water has it's in the word feng shui itself. It has to do with imbibing and distributing the good chi. So if you can put it in these strategic locations, that will bode well for you this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's common questions I've been seeing is maybe you can help us out again, Patrick, if you can go through it briefly. I mean, there was a lot of questions again. Maybe they were able to miss out the first part of your presentation about aside from the year that they need to know. You said they need to know as well what their sign is for the day and for the month. Maybe you can elaborate again more on why is it important for some who were able to catch that particular part.
Sure. So everyone is born with a certain energy imprint. So if we think about it, say if we compare it to the Western view, the Western only has 12 zodiac signs. If you're a Libra, Gemini, the Chinese, and I know Andrew will attest to this, we tend to take things one step further and use numbers in a lot of these different things. So for the Chinese, there's actually 4 different pillars. So there's the month, which is kind of similar to the Western. We also have the year, which goes by every 12-year cycle. So year of the tiger, rabbit, etc. And then the day is actually what I'd say is the most important. And this day also follows the 12 zodiac cycle. So the day has to do with you as a person, your personal energies. So this affects you the most. The second most important is your year. It affects your immediate surroundings. So indirectly, you also get affected by it. The month really has to do with one's career or one's business. So if you are, for example, an investment manager, and we had a great session with Atram as well for their sales team and the relationship managers, we really honed in on the month because that's your career or your personal, your job. If you are, for example, an investment manager and do this as a living, pay attention to your month as well, because this is where you earn your living from. The time at the end, some people do know, some people don't know their time. This one really more has to do with the future, your future plans. If you have kids, that applies to them as well. And if you have all 4 of those time elements, you'll be able to get really your full view. And the interesting thing is if we're able to look at your full view of your life pillars, and then we factor in the your luck pillars and the year, there's close to 47 billion combinations. And if we think about, there's only 8 billion people in the world. So this is really very unique to everyone's signature. So yeah, earlier, if you have the chance to review the recording and we have QR codes, try to find out your life pillars, because this is for life. And every year we can update you on what's best for your year. And lastly, what I want to mention as well is think of your life pillars as a portfolio. So a lot of times you may have four different animals, and that's a good thing, because if you have, say, a rabbit in your day, and then a tiger in your year, and then a horse in your month, you're now able to diversify.
You want to have a diversified portfolio, Patrick, right?
Exactly. So if there are years that may not be this year, for example, the monkey is clashing with the tiger, it may be your month. But if your day, for example, is the horse or the goat, which are more favorable, then you kind of start seeing
For sure.
at least your luck balancing out. So yeah, interestingly enough, portfolio theory can also be applied to one's life pillars.
I know. I've been getting a lot of questions here that maybe they were saying, and going back to what's the year of the snake, the horse. For everyone's information is that this video will be posted on our YouTube channel, right? This replay will be on our YouTube channel at From Studios, so you can go back and actually go back to each and every session and each and every sign that Patrick went through, and even go to the QR code again that he showed earlier, so that you can find out your year, your day, and your month. And again, going back to what you mentioned, is that there's a day signifies something, month signifies something. So then from there, you will be able to go through again a more comprehensive way of really, going through the what is in store for us, in a sense, for 2022, in the year of the tiger. Other questions here is that very interesting, is fintech a good investment this year? Obviously, you mentioned, we earlier mentioned about metal, right? Metal, and definitely yes, that's all in the star, and that's basically part of it. And aside from being just feng shui, fintech definitely is a really good investment, because that is the future. Currently, of course, the tech industry is currently just going through a little bit of correction, but it is actually the time to buy in these times, when in fact, when it's actually after, it's really of a cheaper valuation compared to where it used to be. Like, I know people with, it's so expensive, right? So this is the right time to buy. There's another question I saw, is that should I actually invest after the Philippine election, or is it before? Again, going back, it's during for in Philippine an election year. It's always normally a positive for Philippine stock market, right? So, but I suggest you invest now when the markets are still kind of still very affordable, because when the election happens, you'll see a more or less a good run. So you might be already late. So, but what's also important in terms of investments is that you need to at least do cost averaging, right? Put in a little bit now, so as much as you can in terms of, and spread it across, right? And that in that way, you're like I said, you're diversified in terms of your investment cost when you enter in these types of investments, right? So there's another question here. I want to buy a property, a lot. What orientation to attract luck? Maybe, of course, it depends on what sign they are, right, Patrick? Maybe
Yeah.
you want to go for that?
Sure. So we talked earlier about personal luck and property luck, and a lot of times there are some intersection points. For property luck or feng shui, it's its own set of theories. So one is, if you do know your signs, for example, that determines one part of the orientation. The other one is, and this is usually when we do consultations, there's a lot of things we actually calculate. So we take a look at the lot plan. We take a look at where the house is facing, where it's sitting, where the different rooms are, where people will be occupying. So we do a comprehensive view. And oftentimes we have clients who approach us with, say, 2 or 3 options of a house they're looking to buy. And at that point, we can say of these three options, option B is the best, for example, given all of the pieces of data. I have a slide earlier where we talked about if you know the sectors, the year the house was built, and the birth dates of all the occupants. This is what we do when we do a more in-depth consultation, and this is what I'd recommend. A lot of times, for people, um, they might think that just knowing if your year of the horse is good to buy property. It unfortunately goes a little bit deeper than that. But the good thing is there are some general guidelines that we can give. But what we really could recommend for a huge investment like a house, talk to a expert in the field in Feng Shui metaphysics, and they can guide you to say that this house will be good for you, or maybe choose another house, because this is one of probably or the most important decision you may make in your life from a property perspective. So that's just a little bit of what we can share. If people are interested, we do have that service in our shop as well, the Yin and Yang Shop of Harmony. So if you are interested in a consultation for that, we can definitely help you out.
Yeah, I mean, when buying property, normally it depends on the couple or the family. You take a look at the signs of each and every individual who's going to live there, even the number, the positioning of the property. It's really complex. It's not as easy as that. But of course, some really go to that real extent, but some not that much. So maybe one last question that maybe would be good for us to wrap up is that can all of these that you mentioned also be applicable to the U.S. markets? Maybe.
Sure. Yeah. So the good thing is, when the energies of the world, come together, and we are able to see these trends, they tend to apply to different geographies as well. And as we know, and as Andrew can attest in the whole of the Atram field, that the whole world is connected now. The U.S. especially, it's as of 2021, 55.9% of the global equity market. So when the US sneezes, the rest of the world gets a cold. And I think everyone is now very closely watching with the inflation numbers, what the Fed is going to do with, how I think there's going to be 4 rate hikes this year. So the good thing is when we took a look at the trends, and especially the graph earlier, that came from The Economist, that we were able to add some analysis on, that's based on the Dow Jones. And it has the trends there of how certain years perform to others, which has some cyclicality. Interestingly enough, the winter years, which were the past 3 years, we saw a lot of volatility in the market. 12 years prior, this was the subprime meltdown in the US with Lehman Brothers and so on. And it happens in these 12, interestingly enough, it happens in these 12-year cycles. And the US is a lot of times at the forefront of this. So yeah, this also applies to US related industries. So when we talk about water and metal, this should also be applicable there. And this should be hopefully a guide as you build out your investment portfolio.
That's more or less really aligned to another question here before we close. And maybe you can use that as your wrap up as well, Patrick. Is that in terms of the focus of the element of water, it's water stocks really good in terms of investing, right? So something similar to what you guys actually just mentioned. But also in this, maybe as a last part for your wrap up, in a sense, before your parting words as well, is for the pandemic years, is it going to be a really, in terms of disaster, will this be more or less a kinder year for us? But generally, from what I've heard this afternoon, overall, it's still a very good year overall, right, Patrick?
Yeah, I think this year it'll be interesting. So it's the beginning of spring, so hope is definitely on the horizon. I think the key thing for us this year, and what happened 2 years ago, was the start of a whole new 60-year cycle in the Chinese Zodiac. At least now we're slowly getting into it already. And I think especially when we talk about the pandemic, we know a lot more today than we did 2 years ago. And in terms of the energies, although the yang energy from the tiger still will, because it's aggressive, and it will still bear its fangs, so to speak, a little bit through different points in the year, as we saw it in the first few weeks. This should be a little bit more gentle energy, spring versus winter. Although we do have to watch a little bit still for a little bit of volatility, but overall it should be a little bit calmer year than what we've been used to in this new normal, so to speak.
We need that. We need calm. We need calm. Again, any parting words, Patrick, before we let you go?
No, I really enjoyed the session, Andrew. Thanks for having me, and I'm glad I was able to share some of these different insights. For me, I think the way we really approach it is we try to see how we can apply Feng Shui Chinese metaphysics to the modern world. The interesting thing is these have been around many years. Time of my ancestors, time of Andrew's ancestors back in China, I'm sure. And even now, Feng Shui has really gotten the attention of the world from a real estate and physical perspective. How do we live in harmony with our climate, with our environment, with nature, and knowing these energies? From personal perspective, how do we use this to make our luck better, the luck of our relatives, our family? And it's all about balance at the end of the day. It's all about the yin and the yang. If you are able to balance everything in your life, your career, your health, your relationships, your money, luck, this is what's going to give you happiness. It's not having the most money, it's not having the best relationships, it's balance. If you're able to balance all of that like a great portfolio, you should have a great year ahead.
Great words, great words. All right, thank you, Patrick. Again, for a couple of parting words as well from our side is that what matters most, everyone, is really good fortune is the result of hard work. The harder you work, the more you'll have it, right? I mean, again, these are all guides in a sense, but it's really also nice for us to really see, okay, what is really in store for me in terms of my science and stuff, right? So, okay, with that, thank you, Patrick. Okay, so now then, of course, please join us in our next week's webinar, all right? And we will be talking about the best performing ATRAM mutual funds, all right? And for 2021. I mean, always, again, the question is in terms of where should I invest? Where should I invest? And these are basically guides, again, as well, that we will provide to you in terms of information where it is guided in terms of is this the right type of investment that is suited for your needs and for your investment objective, right? Please scan the code, scan the QR code in front of your in your screens to that right now, so that you can register for this event. All right. Again, please don't forget to visit our social media pages in our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. All of the recordings of our past webinars, this webinar, this event is all posted in all of our social media pages. So if you want to revisit and listen again to the tips that Patrick just mentioned, feel free to go through and of course listen to the recordings. Lastly, please, there will be a survey at the end of this webinar. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear from you in terms of how we could further improve. What content do you actually want to hear, get from us? And we always listen to you in terms of your comments and your suggestions. Then from there, that we'll try to come up with those contents for you and how we further improve these types of webinars. So again, we wish and for everyone for continued health and safety. Have a great day. Happy Chinese New Year. Kyung Hee Watsai again. And stay safe, everyone.